Hi there, this is Mr. Delovit, your physics teacher. Today we continue talking about mathematics in ordinary level physics, and we are going to talk today's part 4, and we continue working on graphs. And so this is a data set we have given, like we are looking at a work example. I said this is a skill that you need to have. It's a tech competency. If you don't have it, then you're losing like 10 points in your exams. So you need to have this skill. So the first thing you need to do is that we need to look at this data, and this first thing we said in doing this, in doing the plot, you can prepare the data. Now, if you look at this data that we have here, the first thing is check. Go and watch the other video to check whether do we need to do anything. For me, I believe that we don't need to do anything from this point. We just need to use the data as it is to plot. Now, if you're using as it is, the next thing is for us to identify what is in the y and the x. I said at your level, they'll always give you. So this v is supposed to be plotted on the y, and I is supposed to be plotted on the x-axis. So you have your x and y-axis values already. So when you have identified that what you have to plot on the y and x-axis, you go on your graph now and you draw your axis. Okay, let's go to the graph. Now if I go to my graph, this is my graph, and let's say yes, so this is my graph, and for me to draw my axis on my graph, so you have, let me change the color. So you come now on this graph, you have to have, you draw a straight line. So my lines will not be straight since I'm using a pen and computer. You draw, use a ruler please, not my free hands I'm using, and then you draw your horizontal. I'm struggling to it straight. You go that and you do that. The next you have to label. See the y-axis was v with a unit. X-axis was I. Struck the unit. That's what you've done. So in just doing this is a map. Now the next thing is, what do? We have to choose a scale. We're supposed to choose a scale of that. So in choosing the scale, first thing I said, in your exams, the graph that will be given to you on this side, you have 22 boxes. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, we do have 10. In your exams, you have 22. Yeah, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 8. But in your exams, this horizontal will be 18. So we'll work here with the 10th and the 8th. Now, so that you get the understanding how we plot the points, right? So let me just, okay, let's do with the 18 and the 22 that you'll be meeting with. Okay, now let's go back. How do we choose the scale? Go back. Okay, let's go back. Now if you go to choose a scale now, so what we need to do is that we need to choose a scale. And in choosing scale, start with the y-axis. So what do? To choose a scale, you take the highest value minus the smallest. So you have 14 minus 0 divided by, now divided by 22, because you have 22 boxes in the y-axis. Since that's what we have on your graph paper, you have divided by 22. What will your value be? Now you just need to go to your calculator. You count your calculator and you punch. You have 14 minus 0. I have 14 divided by 22. I have your response 0. 0. Oh, sorry, millimeter. So you have 0.63. Go back. Let's not go back to the table. So you have 0.63. Now, since we want to plot this graph, I want to ensure that 3/4 of this page, 3/4 of the graph or the line should cover the page. The graph should be 3/4 of that page. You need to have a bigger range. So what do you do? For us to have a value to ensure that it covers 3/4 of the page, we have to ensure that we have to multiply this number by 2. If you multiply the number by 2, what do we have? We have another value. So give you, if you have 6, 2, you have 1.23, 1.26, for example. This is what you're going to have. Means that the value you choose for your range for to be a unit for the y-axis, for your scale for the y-axis, has to fall between these two values. And now, which value will you choose to use? The value you choose to use, as I said in the other video, must be either a multiple of 1, 2, 5, or 10. It should be the multiple of these 4 numbers. Now, if you look here between 0.63 to 1.26, it means, what I mean is that it means you have 0.63, 0.64, 0.65, 0.67, 0.68, 0.69, 0.70. You write this all up toward 1.26. You write this right up to 1.26. When you write up to now, you check in this value which of these values that you have written or from this range from 0.6 to 1.6 is a multiple of 1, 2, 5, or 10, or is divisible by 10. If you see in all these values, you will see 1 is the most likely. 1 is the most likely value because you have any day you will have 1 inside. Right, good. Now, so I'm saying that my value 1 is this my scale. What does that mean? It means that one of the box on the XY axis means the distance from here to here should be 1 unit. That's what I'm saying. The distance between one line of the box to the next line should be 1 unit. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, how do you do the x-axis? We'll choose now. Is the lowest value and is the highest value. So you have what? 11.0 divided by minus 0 divided by 18. 18 is the value on your graph papers, the number of boxes. Now let's go to the graph, to the calculator. So if you go there, you have 11 divided by 22. So what do you have? 0.5. So you go back, you have 0.5. So you multiply this one by 2. And what do you have? You have 1.0, right? Hey, what did I do? Sorry, I did a mistake. So you go back. It was supposed to be 11 divided by 18, not 22. 11 divided by 18. So you waste 1. You can also make mistakes at all. It's 0.61. So you go back 0.61. 0.61. So multiplied by 2, I'll have 1.21. That's half. You have 1.21. Now, between 1.21 and now B1 0.61 and this, between these two now, 0.61 and 1.2 and 1.21. So which value now falls between what? It's a multiple of 1, 2, 5, and 10. So which of them have that value? So if you look at it critically, you see we have a common value of 1 also. Will be a good value. 1 is a multiple. We have 1 there. You cannot take 0.5. You cannot go. You cannot take because this number is 0.6, but it's more than 0.5. We cannot take 1.5. We cannot take, so you see 1 is a value that's good. So it means that on my x-axis, the unit between one box and other should be what? 1 unit also. That's what I mean. So if we go back to our graph, per se, we go back to our graph, we'll say, so this is how we're going to plot it. So we go back to our graph. Yes, if you go back to our graph, if you go back to our graph, let's go back to our graph. Let's see. So okay, so we have this. As we said before, we come here. Let me use red so that it's easily visible. I said so that one I wiped. Sorry, my line is not good. And then you draw this. You put an I, okay, and you label V. Okay. Now we said on the y-axis, 1 unit, one of this box from here to here is 1 unit. Means that this my 0. So you look at now your values. So you have what we have now. You have 0. The next one will be 1. The next one will be 2. You have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. Now why are we saying? Because the difference between this 0 and this will have to be 1. 1 and 2 have to be 1. The difference between 2 and 1 has to be 1. The difference between 3 and 2 has to be 1 unit. So the distance from here to here has to be 1 unit. That's what I mean. Now the same thing goes to the y axis. So you come here, will be what? You have here 1. So this is 0, 2. You go to the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So these are the values. So we had these numbers up to 22, would have number it to 22, and this other one would have number it to 18. But the graph pair is short. Now what you have to note also now is when you have done this scale, you are good. But now the next you have to understand now is what is the value of this small line now? This one. What's the value of those small lines that are there? Because it will also help you now in plotting. Now, how do you get it? For you to get it, you take 1, this value, minus 0, divide the total number of boxes here. We have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it will be 1 divided by 5. Now, when it's 1 divided by 5, you have what? 0.2. Means that each of these small squares here stands for what? 0.2. So it means that you're having 0, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, 1. That is. The same here will be 0, 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, 1. 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, 1.82, 2.2, 2.4, 2.3, 2.6, 2.8, and 3, and so on. That's how you're going to plot your graph. Now, for you to plot now, we go back to the points. The first point we had on the graph was 0, 0. So you plot here. Let me change the color so it's easier. So the first point was 0, 0. So you plot 0, 0 there. The next point we had there was 2 and 1.6. 2 on the y-axis and 1.6 on the x-axis. So where is 1.6? If you look on this graph, this is where 1 is. This is my 1. So it will be 1.2, 0.4, and 0.6. So that's my 1.6. So my 1.6 is here. You look go up. Where do I see 2? This is where 2 is. You go like this. This is 2. So you come. Where does it meet? It meets here. That's what you meet. Then you draw your x. That's what you do. The next value we had on the graph was 4 and 3.2. Now 4 on the y-axis and 3.2 on the x-axis. Where's my x-axis? This is my x-axis. So 3.2, we have 3. Where's 3.2? This is 3.2. But this is 3.4. So you go up. Where's my 4? You're looking at 4. Now this is 4. Where 4 is. You see? So you come. And this is where they meet. They meet at this point. You draw your x. Now the next value is we have 6 and 5. Now 5 on the y-axis, x-axis. So this one, this is my 5. I go up. Now am I seeing 6? Okay, this is 6. This is where they meet. You see? You make a point. So this is my 5 and 6 point. This is my 4 and 3.2 point. This is my 2 and 1.6 points. So the next point we have was 8 and 6.3. So this is my 6, 6.3 now. So we don't have 6.3 on the graph. So it will be in between 6.2 and 6.4. So this is 6.2, 6.4. So it will be in between. I'll go up in the middle. I'll go in the middle. And we have 8, 6.3 and 8. I'll go up in between. I'm way up. This is my 8. I'll see my 8 now. So I'll put in between. So the point will be in between these two. So that's it. So that's what you're going to have. So now in doing that, after you've plotted your points, so there are many points that we can plot. There are many points we can plot. But since our graph is short at the moment, we cannot plot. But you can, when you're plotting yours on your graph paper, you go up to the 20, all to the points 11 and 4, 12 and 10, 12 and 14. To have 3 points you have not plotted because the graph paper is short. So now this is our points. After I've done that, you have to draw a straight line. So doing a straight line, so you have to make sure it starts and make sure it passes through most of the points. You go. But it must not pass through. So one line, you draw it straight with a ruler. A straight line. Don't draw with your free hand as I'm doing here. Draw with a ruler. And you do a straight line and you don't print. You don't print. And that's your line. After you've done your line now, the next thing you have to do is calculate gradient. As in the calculating gradient now, you don't need to use these points that you have plotted. You have plotted this point, this point, this point, and this point. So you don't need to use those plotted points. You use points that you have not plotted. So you have to make sure that it's a point that you look at. Okay, let me look at this point. You're seeing this one. There is a point that is fixed on the line. I choose this point. The gradient has to be big. I draw a line and come down. Very big. You're looking where you have another line that you can meet. Okay, I'll go here. Draw here. Oh, it's another point. So I have this point and I have this one. Make sure your gradient is key. Don't come and draw a small gradient like this. You will be wrong. So your gradient has to be very big, and that's it. Now you read the points from the graph. What point would this be? Let me see another color. Look at what would be this point. Now This point, I could look at, you go down and come down. It falls here. So there'll be 5 point what? This 5.2, 5.4, 5.6. So your x value, there'll be 5.6. Right? And what will be my y value? You look here from this line. You go across. You go. What? It'll be 7.7. It'll be 7.2. So you have 7.2. Right. Now you come here and look at the point. This point now. You go down. What value do you have here? That's 2. You have 2. That's your x. So you write the x-axis first. Now what will be y? You go across. It is 2.2, 2.4. So you have 2.4. So these are your two values. You have this and you have this. So now, how do you plot now these points? How to put the gradient now? And look for the gradient. You come now, gradient. It says change in y over change in x. So now it says y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's what we said. So now if we take that, if we take this, so what do we have? So x2. So what's x? So you come here, you come to the graph. You can choose one. This is my y2. 7.2. 7.2 minus y1. Y1 will be this one now. This is y1 here. 2.4. So this is y1 and this y2 up here, which is this. This is y. So we come minus 2.4 divided by x2. X2 now be the value of this is 5.6 minus x1, which is this one, 2, which is this. This 5.6 here, and this is 2 minus 2. Now, you always make sure you put your units. What's the unit that was here? The y, we had v. What's the unit that was here? The unit was what? A. That's how we had. Okay, now use your calculator now. Use your calculator. We had 7.2 minus 2.4. The answer divided, you have divided by 3.6, and your answer gives you 1.33. So if you go 1.33, so you're having mess up the thing. So we are having I said the gradient was, we have 7.2 minus 5.6 divided by 7.52 divided by 2.4, yes, and 5.6 minus 2.0. So we said we do this calculation. This has to be in V, and you have to always put your unit to make sure, and your answer will be 1.3 A. Now 1.3 volt, volt per this, because if you put A, answer will be wrong. So your answer has to be 1.3 volt. This unit up stroke the unit down. So you have 1.3 volt A. So that will be your gradient on the graph. So they can ask you, what is the significance of this gradient? What will be the significance of this gradient? So this value, voltage on current or volt on current, gives you a value called resistance. Because from the formula, voltage is equal to IR. So if I do voltage over I, my answer is what? R. So it means that the significance of the gradient will be resistance. So it means that the answer there, if you can put 1.3 ohm, they'll mark it correct. If you put 1.3 volt stroke A, they'll still mark it what? Correct. Because the significance, this gradient represents resistance. That's what it represents. So that is how we plot the graph. So if you don't understand certain things, join my WhatsApp group in the description below, or you can ask questions in the comments and I'm going to respond to you on how to better understand graphs. It's very important. Or you can do assignments on it and then show me and I'll approve whether it's correct or wrong. Thank you so much for watching and staying tuned.